have Mr. Malcolm McKinney and Mr. David Golden, who are serving as our architects, preliminary architects for the project. And then we have Mr. Joey Gerber, who's with Hilltop Security, can answer more detailed financial type questions regarding the proposed project. But first thing we'd like to do is make sure everybody's welcome, and we'll have an opportunity at the end to ask questions, and we'll respond to those questions accordingly. Again, thank everybody for coming out. We're going to share a little bit of information. This is not a lot different from the last slideshow that we had 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's the same basic information. The message hasn't changed. It's the same basic information. What we're looking at is making improvements to our district, and we're proposing a bond to do that. The bond is in the form of a $9.5 million project that will include several different projects within the larger project. So one of the things we've done is mailed out, and folks, I don't know if you got one, but Mr. Fred Wilcox here has the brochure that was mailed out. If anybody would like one, we can give you one at this time. If you'd like to reference it or look at it, if you don't have one or didn't get one or would like to look at one.
Nobody south of 138 that lives in Center Route received a brochure.
I was fixing to ask if those only went up to 759,
They should have gotten it.
Nobody. I live south of that number.
Y'all have some property owners that have tenant home addresses?
That would be a mailing issue.
Real easy to find on the tax roll, isn't it?
You what?
It isn't real easy to find addresses on the tax roll.
We mail everybody to 75975, and that's what schools generally do to inform the public.
South of 138 is faithful.
We have,
Anybody else?
if you know of anybody that wants one, we'll be glad. I'll take them one to their house if that's a problem. And we can check on that in the morning. As a matter of fact, we'll see if there are those that didn't get those. But anyway, that's the typical method that schools use to mail out to the people in the district. So it's a method that all other schools use that I'm aware of to get information to them. We have, basically, it had a brochure or an outline of the different projects that we had. The process started with some local assessments that we did. Having been here for several years and talked to different people, a lot of people have expressed needs to the school personnel. They've expressed needs to me in various areas that we've had, and all of those expressions were taken into account in the process of making decisions about what projects we would need to look at doing and trying to do for the district. The Texas Association of School Boards Facilities Assessment Team was hired to come in and look at the structural quality of our existing facilities and also make recommendations about improvements that could be made to the various campuses and to the overall district. So we used that information to provide a basis. We had a large project list to begin with, and then we used staff surveys to kind of narrow down based upon need and so forth, and other basically the things that were outlined in the TASB assessment. So, first priority that was looked at was to consider safety Some of the things that kind of fell under that, the parent pickup area, playground, student growth in programs. If we had students needing to take more of a particular type of course or class, then we considered that. If we had larger numbers participating in certain activities within the school, then we looked at that. We looked at the adequacy of existing buildings and facilities, looked at the size and so forth, like of this building, to see that it would continue to service the students that we have for how much longer. And Mr. McKinley kind of explained that last time somebody asked, how much longer we plan to use this facility. And the answer is really, how much longer do we want to use it, because it's one of the most structurally sound facilities that the district has. When the earthquakes were happening in Timpson, this building actually suffered less damage than many of the newer buildings that we have, and it's because the walls are several, feet thick. So we looked at the condition of existing facilities. We looked at many other factors. This is an example of one of the things that they found out of the parent pickup. And you can see right now the students are loading here where the buses are picking up. There's some questions about that. That needs to be really separated in order for it to be safer and quicker for parents picking up students. Right now they pick up basically in the same area. You can see the line of parent traffic, and it extends off and down the road here, and then you can see the bus line here in the same basic location. The transportation department is really limited in its space. We have several of the larger buses now because we have trip buses and things that have to go on long trips, and those buses can't fit inside the facility that we have. It's really small, and so this because of the location of it, causes more congestion there at the parent pickup area. So we have to do work outside sometimes on the buses. I mean, it's not a crime, but it could be different. The proposal that we're talking about actually separates three functions that cause high levels of congestion and unsafe conditions. The bus barn and its traffic will move down the street to a new bus barn, probably a quarter mile down McLaughlin Street toward the end. And a new bus barn will be there, and then the bus loading will be placed to the south around the other side, about where the current softball field is, circling around to where it would be separate from the parent pickup. The parent pickup would essentially stay in the same spot. Another area that was identified was the vocational education and ag maintenance facility. We have, this building was created, and it does have some leaks in it and different issues. It's really small. Basically, they can do one project in there in the current facility. And you can see the classroom. They built those on, but they're really small. And some of our classes are larger now, especially with the new CAPE requirements, the CTE requirements that are being put out by the state. The state says that school districts need to offer more courses in career and technology education. That means that students need to take classes that will provide job skills for them, certifications for them, in fields like welding and plumbing and electrical type courses to get kids ready. The kids that aren't on track to be in upper level chemistry or mathematics this provides some better options for them as far as providing a better facility that allows more students to be in class. We can talk more about that later. And the new facility will accommodate and have classrooms that accommodate online learning and CTE courses and several types of college courses, especially those related to career and technical education. But basically, the ag shop we have now has room for one project, so one class has to work on one project and then get done with it, and others have to work on projects either outside or just wait until the previous projects are completed before they can begin work. By today's standards, it's pretty small, and especially considering the number of students that will be in those courses in the future. It has electrical issues with it that have caused problems in the past. I know we've had to do some electrical upgrades, but they're just some basic problems that we have with that facility. Another issue that we identified was the elementary playground across the street. You can see the elementary school is over here. The students have to cross the road in order to go to the playground. And we're proposing a playground that's located directly behind the elementary school, where students just have to leave out of the elementary school and basically they're on the playground there. The project we plan to convert the current ag shop into a pavilion and make it where it has restrooms and a pavilion for those students, those elementary students, to be there and closer to the actual school. You know, in case there's some kind of event that happens, we can gather them in, get them into a safer location more rapidly than if they were located where they are now. The current band hall has a lot of overcrowding. The band hall was constructed to hold about 50 band students. We have anywhere from 70 to 80 students now in the band, and that band hall is very crowded. We have 2 directors now, where we have had one in the past, and there's only one office in there. The storage room is not sufficient. They need a place for practice rooms and practice facilities. They don't have places for entire groups to practice. As you can see, I walk through down the sidewalk and walk over toward the gym, and this is what I find. This happens all the time. This has become the storage area, because the storage areas that we have are too small, and then kids are having to practice out in the foyer of the gym because there's no section practice area. And what they do nowadays is practice, the flutes would practice in one location. The, tupas might be in another location, or they, practice together, and they need a place for all of them, so they need a sectional room, really. And that would be part of the expansion. We're talking about adding about 1,200 feet to the current band hall, and then opening up the concert space. See this space, making this space larger and renovating the whole interior of the band hall, and then adding 1,200 square feet to that. Like I said, students are having to practice in different locations, and this is just one example of where they practice. Sometimes they have to practice back in the back in different dressing rooms of the gymnasium and different places like that. Wherever they can. And of course, that creates problems with flow and students, just being out in the open. We have drainage problems around the sidewalk. If you walk down the sidewalk, especially if it rains, especially over in front of where the current science building is, you can see a lot of drainage problems there. We plan to fix those drainage problems. Those problems are causing unsafe conditions, and hopefully that will alleviate those issues. I don't know if anybody's walked through there when it's raining or after it's raining. in front of the gym and science building. We have problems in the back of the road. This road needs to be repaired, but it would cost thousands of dollars to do that, to make those repairs to that back road. The track, of course, needs resurfacing, but the problem is when it was constructed, the drainage was not adequate, and so, and I'm not sure why, but it was not adequate. It wasn't constructed like it could have been, and so that has caused us not to be able to resurface the track, because if we resurface the track with its current condition, the mud and dirt would just wash over the top of the track, and in 2 years you would ruin a $60,000 track surface. So we have to wait until the track area is repaired, the drainage around the track. And I'm talking about not just that one area, I'm talking about areas inside the track as well as other places around in order to be able to resurface that track successfully. You can see that during events that we have, during graduation, it's very full. You can see during ball games, it's very full. You can see people looking through and standing out in the outside, and then the other sides, the sides are full. You can see people sitting around the edges, and the whole gym is very full when we have events going on. The current field house has a lot of problems. There are sewage problems in the field house. From what I understand, when it was constructed, there were efforts to make a field house. It really wasn't constructed with a weight room in it. The girls do not have a weight room. The boys have a weight room that was converted from a dressing room, basically, and it's small by modern standards compared to other weight rooms that you see around. But there are estimates, professional estimates, I can let Malcolm talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about the field house.
We don't exactly know how the field house was constructed, but the major problem is the sanitary sewer under the slab perhaps was not installed with adequate slope on it, or perhaps was not installed with adequate size. But whatever the case may be, there's sanitary sewer problems in the field house. Those could be fixed by essentially jackhammering out a good portion of the slab and reinstalling that. It's very expensive to do that. You go jackhammer it out, you still have, a lot of holes in each.
How expensive would you say?
Didn't I project about 200,000?
Yeah.
Say that again. How much?
Around 200,000.
To fix or
Oh, good God, man, you crazy. Ain't no way.
to fix or replace, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
To fix or replace.
Well, to fix it, you have to replace it.
No, that's what I'm, okay, that's what I'm saying. He said something about busting it out, so,
Yeah, you would have to do tremendous amounts of work, and then it's very small compared to what is needed.
okay, so we're not talking about busting it out, we're talking about building a new.
Yes.
200,000. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Somebody,
I thought you were talking about your
I heard
chair
two.
there.
No, we're not going to, no,
Okay.
no, sir. No, that's the decision not, the decision is not to do.
All right, hey,
Yeah,
We're
the
sorry.
decision is not, yes.
Misunderstanding. And to answer the question about the drainage, that field house may be like our house. Part of Timpson was added on to sanitary sewer, and then the location of the sewer plant moved. So it may be for that, I don't know. But some
We have to actually put pumps back there. Those have to be replaced every couple of years. Fred can tell you about that. He calls and says it stopped up again, and it's standing inside the shower, standing inside the field house. And then it's got electrical problems too.
How specific can you put it on replacement?
The
Specifically, like how you plan on replacing the club?
If you, well, we're not.
You gonna mow on it or what?
No, they come to tear it down. We just gotta do away with that building.
Yes,
Well, see, that's the first I've heard of that.
yes, yes.
I mean, you could easily mow under there and replace the plumbing with a board machine, replace the plumbing and leave the existing field house, and you can replace the electrical really easier than you can replace the old structure. I mean, board machine can
They,
mow on it, where you want to mow.
To replace the plumbing, replace the wooden lockers that contribute to staph infection, to replace the roof that has problems, and update the entire facility would cost a lot of money and would then still be smaller. But anyway, from the understanding, the facility was constructed with the help of school personnel in the 70s and 80s. It served us well, but they're not of adequate size and number. So basically, the event center that we're talking about would have a boys' side and a girls' side. The boys' side would be overlooking where the football field is now, and that would have a regular size weight room in it. The girls would have their own side on the other side with their own weight room, meeting Title IX requirements. Any construction that we did, and we didn't include a girls' weight room, would absolutely make us susceptible to Title IX problems. So that would solve those issues with equal access for girls and boys. On the Timpson Elementary campus, we talked about a low parent loading, a faster pickup area, a larger, more secure playground, not crossing the street. Those are some of the things we've already talked about. Large covered playground, we discussed that with the playground. The existing ag shop would be turned into a pavilion. The elementary would be fitted with new flooring and new ceiling. The paint would be repaired. There need to be some improvements in the library, space and configuration issues in there that we've looked at. These would all be updates to the elementary campus that have not been updated other than really painted since it was constructed in 1986. Parking improvements there. Of course, the classes would have a new music area in the band hall. As far as talking about the middle school, there would be additional PE space. Right now, some of the problems we have is trying to get everybody into, because we have, 50, 60 kids, at least up in the 40s and even 50s, closer to 60 kids in some of the elementary classes. So getting them the PE space right now, a lot of practice teams have to go and practice, especially during basketball season. They have to go and practice at some of the church gyms around because we don't have space for them to be able to practice. We are talking about adding additional classes in the vocational education, which is really the CTE building, the Career and Technology Education building. And the last conversation that we had was with the high school principal and the counselor. We talked about fitting maybe a large classroom instead of 2 classrooms, maybe making a large classroom that was outfitted for students to sort of go out, not just sort of, but to go out and to take college courses, online courses, career technology education courses, places that we could have professors from Panola and other places come in and actually provide additional instruction for the kids as we could arrange and possibly fit in. Right now, in order to do those online courses, kids are placed throughout the campus in different locations. They use the library a lot, and people can't use the library when the kids are in there taking online courses, so that frees up the library. Additional potential classrooms in the event center, we talked about adding classrooms there. So we're talking about 8 additional classrooms and possibly more. Additional band hall space, that's instructional space as well. event center, graduation, of course, and other events that we have, programs that we could have in the event center. The high school, the new vocational technology building, CTE building, 2 vocational classrooms for high school and 2 technology classrooms for high school and middle school. And these are really the classrooms we're talking about. It may not be 2, it may be one larger one. The vision that we've discussed is having it outfitted with computers where kids can go take college courses. And hopefully we can get our kids to where they're graduating with associate degrees or near associate degrees. We've had a couple over the years, but that's a big push, is to get more kids college credit as a big savings to parents trying to send their kids to college. We're going to relocate the softball field. The softball field that we have now is probably in one of the lowest places in the district, from what I understand. It was an area that was made that way and put in that location, but that location is bad to wash, and the improvements that we've made to it wash away because of the landscape around it. That area basically becomes a parking lot in front of the event center and vocational building. Restroom upgrades in the high school. Right now, the hallways are not heated and cooled. Security cameras, new doors from the east and west entrance. They're just, these are just some of the smaller things that we want to do to improve the campus. Some of them just are hard to fix anymore when they break because they've been there such a long time. Clocks has to do with the organization of how the time works. For example, the clocks determine the bell system. The bell system needs to be throughout the district. So that's what that's talking about, a complete intercom and bell system when you see clocks. Landscaping has to do with the drainage areas around the campus. It has to do with the flooding areas, especially around the track and over here in front. Of course, the intercom system has to do with fitting in with the bell system and all to make it. Those systems are very expensive, $50,000 to $100,000 to purchase and to update, and that's stuff that has not been, that we have not been able to afford to do so far. Band hall renovations and additions benefiting all campus. The new event center will have a UIL compliant stage. Right now, the UIL has to go and practice sometimes at other stages because this stage, they work here, but this stage is about half as big as it needs to be for regulation UIL contests, and we like to send our kids to contests prepared, so we often take them to alternate locations to practice, but we don't have a stage that accommodates the requirements of UIL. Locker rooms, of course, that's in the event center, separated event space from players and spectators, safety. We talked about girls and boys weight rooms, parking improvements. We'll look at the big picture a little bit in a minute. Campus drainage improvements, we've talked about that. Security and lighting upgrades outside. Around the outside, we put lighting up as best we can, but there are places that need to be improved, especially at night, to improve the visibility, especially when there are events and people are up at the school later in the evening. The dedicated technology building, what we're going to do with the current, or plan to do with the current bus barn, is to turn that into a place for our servers. Right now our servers, most of them are held out in a couple of portable buildings behind the science labs. Those portable buildings, sometimes we make repairs to them, but they don't serve as the best places for servers. So we plan to move the servers out there. We plan to move the technology program out there. We'll move in some little suspension out there to where the current bus barn, so we're going to repurpose that building to those needs, and record storage. We talked about a place we need a records room because the one we have now essentially is two-quarter building. New bus and maintenance building, we talked about that down the road, across the street. And of course, an informational marquee out front to make people more aware. Our existing gym is crowded. Even though it's nice, we made improvements to it. It's just a space issue. It'll be more like this on one end, larger, but our gym is actually larger than this gym. This is the one at here, but ours will have actually 2 more rows of seating on each side, hold about 800 people is the one we're proposing. The front of it will be not exactly like this. It will be opened up more, but you can kind of see the space and the difference in size. That vocational building, this is our current vocational building, that will be turned into a pavilion inside the elementary playground. This building here is the new ag building at Mary ISD. Ours would be a little bit larger than that building. You can see the inside projects, and then the welding stations, the space that they have. Included in the project is the construction of 8 classrooms, helping with overcrowding. The Pine District offer more certification courses on our campus in conjunction with College of Lonola. It would include associate degrees. Career and technology education will be better able to do that. We're going to make a commitment to do that when we get these. That's something we're going to work on. I know that Mr. Lindgren and the high school staff has worked on that. But it takes a long time for schools to change because of staffing. It's hard to afford new teachers in different areas, and it takes several years to prepare the school moving in a different direction. For so many years, if you remember, under the tax testing, and now we moved into STAR testing, they basically assessed math, science, English, and social studies. And that's what they assessed. And that was the emphasis. That's where they wanted the students placed into. Well, now they realize that we can't have all of our kids in math, upper level science courses, and college English. That some students need to be in career and technical education. They need plumbing classes. They need electrical classes. They need, those types of everyday classes that people can get associate's degrees in and perform jobs out in the public and be job ready. So that's a direction that we hope this facility will allow us to more accommodate. Career and technical education, ag science, under new legislation, and that's what I just explained. This program where the facilities will allow us to focus more on that and give us more space to look in that direction. The amount of the bond is $9.5 million. Approximately 43% of the bond will be paid for by the state. This $9.5 million maximizes state funding. And this is 43% of the entire, the payment. Is the way that works, and I can let, if anybody has a question about that, they could ask it at this time if they wanted to. But it pays 43% of the entire debt that we have, essentially. And the way it works is it's EDA money, which is it's sort of like a grant, but it's just money that schools get when they when they pass IMS taxes. There's 2 types of taxes. There's the tax that supports the operations of the school, and then there's the tax that supports the buildings and construction of facilities. Well, one side is pretty well set, and the other side has some fluctuation. We don't have any debt at this time. Tim's nice, he doesn't. So what we're proposing is 29 cents of tax that will generate $9.5 billion. That doesn't really pay. Yes?
You said the 43% of the total debt, so you're saying that even after the $9.5 million has interest added, if it's estimated 3%, you're talking about another $4 million over 25 years in interest.
Right.
So the state is going to pay 43% of this principal $9.5 million and the interest?
Yeah, the way the formula works is up to 29 cents of tax levy, the state will pick up a portion of the total payment. So in this case, we're talking about $9.5 million. The total debt service payment would be about $575,000. The state will pick up approximately 43% of that, based on.
For the full 25 years?
Right.
What happens when the state formula changes?
Well, I mean, it's subject to change, the state legislature.
Any year it changes, every year.
Well, the program is permanent. So once it's called the existing debt allotment. Once you have existing debt, then you qualify to get that payment every year. I mean, obviously the legislature can,
For 25 years or 30 years?
25, we're talking about 25 years?
It's 25.
Well, this bond is proposed for a 30-year bond.
Up to a 30, I think is the way the ordinance.
Yeah, you could do.
I have a proposition right here that the taxpayer is wrote the paper that the taxpayer is going to vote on. I have highlighted a couple of places here. Are you the attorney for the school?
No, sir, I'm a banker, I'm an attorney.
Okay, I would like for somebody to explain this to me. It says without limit as to the rate or amount to pay the principal off and the interest on the bond and the cost of any credit arrangement therewith. If we pass this bond, we're giving the school authority without limit to raise our taxes to the amount to pay the bond.
Correct.
Without limit. Basically, for the next 30 years, we're letting the school board set our taxes at whatever rate they want to set.
Well, we'll set it at whatever rate.
And then the next proposition down here, it says that they can sell the bonds at any interest rate they want to. And if we vote on that, the school board can sell the bond at 15% if they want to, or 20%. And the taxpayers are obligated to pay for it. No way, gentlemen, can I vote for this?
That program.
No way. And that's what we're voting on.
That program is set.
Me and Johnson, that's what we're voting on.
Well, that is part of it, but that's
Everybody, it's
part of the
limitation.
limitation. But that's in any school bond that you'll see anywhere in the state of Texas or the United States.
There should be some limits on what you could have here.
That,
I mean, you can sit up and sell them bond for 15%, 20%. You can raise our taxes $3 per 100,000 if you want to, or $3 per 100 if you want to.
but that's
If you
not,
vote for this bond right here.
that's not gonna happen because the board is not gonna do.
Look, you give the board the authority to do it if they want to do it. I love everybody on the board. They all good friends of mine. If I'm gonna vote for something like this, I'll assure you.
Can I ask a question?
I mean, you give the board carte blanche to do what they want to do.
Mr. Johnson, can I ask a question? Is the,
And it's specific. I'm sorry, that will get.
if
That's not realistic to what
It may not be realistic, Lynn, but you give them legal authority to do
you
it.
have to do that to do a bond. That's what the law is.
Everybody does
You
it.
have to do that because they have to do the type of facility.
But some lawyer wrote this up to give y'all that last ten with that law.
That's the way that the law is written. Yes. Every school that goes out for a school bond does it.
All I can say, ladies and gentlemen, if you vote for it the way it is, you're giving them permission to raise your taxes to $3, $4, or $5 per $100 bag. And you give them permission to sell these bonds at 30% if they want to.
can I ask a quick question? Just a very
Sure.
Can I clarify something?
Let him speak a second.
Yes, absolutely.
They are technically called unlimited tax bonds.
Amen.
But the state limits the tax rate for INS, for interest and sinking fund tax. The facility fund tax, limited at 50%, or 50 cents, sorry. And we're talking about a 29-cent
Why is
tax.
that not in there? It's not on the property. It's not working.
Because technically, if the district goes into debt, the taxpayers are obligated to pay the debt.
That's right, that's right. And the taxpayer, and the
And there's no bond anywhere that will not get
Well,
paid.
the bonds will be sold at market rate. In fact, the bond order specifies that the maximum rate will be 5%. But we're currently projecting the interest rate to be,
They say that this proposition, they estimate 5%, but they can sell them for what they want.
well, they will sell at the market rate. Nobody's going to sell 15% interest rate bonds.
Or do you know what the market, or we know what the market price will be 20 years from now? This is a 30-year.
No, the market rates are set when we sell these bonds, which will be at the end of the summer. And then once they're sold, they're set. The rate is the rate.
Like I said here, periodically they can sell the bonds. Not all at one time, but periodically.
They don't have to sell it all the time, but they
Right,
probably.
right. They don't have to.
would.
They don't have to.
You said something briefly, and that's what I was gonna ask a moment ago, because as a city, I know the tax rate is set, and if you go over a certain percent, then they have to have meetings and everything. So you're saying the cap currently on school tax for this area, for small district, is 50 cents per hundred?
Well, that's statewide.
Statewide.
That's for INS tax, for the facilities, for debt.
So unless something horrific happened in the system, the 29 cents is what our tax rate increase is based on this bond. Which, you know, whether we love all the current school board members or not, some of them may not be here in 25,
Amen.
during the 25 years. But there are things in place. I know when we sign a large loan in our business, it says anything we purchase in the future is going to be collateral. And we don't even know what we're going to purchase yet. So I'm sure there's legal wording in here that's kind of scary. But the bond is, we're looking at is 29 cents.
It will be set, 29 cents, it will be set, that when the bonds are sold this summer. When I understand it, sold this summer.
The 29-cent tax rate, like Rich said, that is the level that will maximize the amount of state funding.
And that's 2,900 on me. 2,900.
Maybe
So
about
the 29 cent rate sounds so simple. 2,900 on me.
If this says, if the bonds are approved, they may be issued in one or more series.
Yes, sir.
And mature necessarily over a period not to exceed 30 years. So they can be sold over a period of 30 years.
Yes, they can, but we're saying, our plans are to do 25, based on the.
Who knows what the tax rate will be 10 years from now, or 20 years.
But that to be set, according to what they sell it. That is set according to what they sell it.
was the wording.
No, I wouldn't put that back to the.
Basically, the homeowners, we still offer a 20% option. The homeowners in Timpson get a 20% homeowner exemption.
But if you're not in school, you don't have to take the 20%.
Let me,
You don't have to take it.
okay, just let me finish. Let me finish this and we'll talk
Well, if
about
you're a
it.
little landowner, you got no, deduction.
Basically, a homeowner with a home, and this is about the average home in Timpson, a $65,000 home. Right now, Timpson pays $315. And I know all these other schools have that same terminology in their bond proceedings. If you'll look, call and talk to every one of them, I guarantee they all had the same sheet of paper run in their local newspaper that said and stated the risk of a bond. Of course, there are risks anytime you do anything. So these people were willing to take the risk for their school. Timpson now pays $315. A homeowner does that owns a $65,000 house, compared to Central Heights, maybe Gary up here. There's some of these schools in the middle and upper area. I don't know some of these others. They may be more middle way, but some of these schools pay more based on the fact they don't have a 20% option. So you can't just look at the tax rate. You have to look at the fact for a homeowner whether or not a school offers a local option, a 20% exemption. These schools down here offer a 20% local homestead exemption. That's what makes these taxes lower. So this is the effort we put now toward our school, in taxes for our school district. And this compares us to 15 neighboring schools. So that's where we are. We're projecting a tax rate increase of 29 cents. You can see a $100,000 home, somebody would have their taxes increase about $160. For a $200,000 home, they'd have their taxes increased to about $390, $400. These are the different costs of the homes involved in that. Total rate will be $1.46. This rate is still lower than it was in 2005 when they compressed the value. If you remember, it was around $1, or it was $1.50 at that time, and they compressed it down to the rate of $1. And then several school districts have, invested, and they built facilities, and so their rates have gone up. But the impact on local homeowners is still not as high as the surrounding 15 districts in our area, because we're only 3 districts out of those 15 that still offer the homestead. Now, businesses is different.
That can be
Let me finish. Communities that invest in themselves see exponential returns at their businesses and communities. A better school can make a difference when people are moving to a new area or location. And there can be rewards for the entire community. People should consider moving. This is what they often look at. I've seen people come by and say, let me see your facility when we decide to come to school here in Timpson. We're trying to decide whether we want to go to school or not. They want to see the facilities. That's the first thing they look at. So these are some of our neighbors. And we get compared to them every day. So remember, Timpson returned 9 cents of bonded indebtedness in 2009 to the taxpayers because the debt was paid off early, if you remember. And we're not like a Chapter 41 school, and I won't get into that, those rich school districts like Carthage or Beckville or some of those school districts who pass a bond and in 2 years they can pay it off, because there's no recapture on the INS side. There's absolutely no recapture on the INS side. So they can pass a bond and pay off facilities in a couple of years, and then pass another bond and not even increase taxes and keep building things. But for a place like Timpson, it's a once every 20, 30 year deal. So we have to build enough to keep up with time, and that's why we have the amount of $9.5 million. The last bond we had was in 1986. From what I look back, would be equivalent of about $6 or $7 million in our time money. It wasn't but about a $3.5 million bond, I think, but in our money it would be about $6.5 or so bond. You can see the improvements here. This would be where the school event center would be located. This is where the improvements to the drainage area, the track would be improved. This would be the vocational technology career education facility. This is parking. The new elementary playground would be here. This is the elementary school. This is where the parents would pick up. This is where the buses would pick up and go out, separate from this parent pickup. Softball field in this area, because this is where the softball field is now, so we have to have that space. And then the new bus barn area. So, done with the presentation. If anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer those.
I have one comment, because Mr. Smith
said that y'all could vote the 20% homestead exemption away next month.
No.
According to Mr. Pig, that can't be reevaluated to 2019.
I
And you
agree.
told
2019?
2019.
Yeah, that's
and you-
right around the corner.
5 years.
I understand that. And you said that,
And he also stated, you know, your houses, and you didn't mention land at all. You do not have a homestead exemption on no land, period.
but most land around here has ag and
Most
timber.
land has ag, and its value is so low that it doesn't impact. If it's ag,
Oh, wait a minute.
if it's ag,
Wait.
now, if it's a farm, and it's a producing farm, like a chicken farm, or if it
If
has
it's
a business,
timberland,
that's
it's worth,
different.
if it's timberland, it's worth
Yes,
paying
it's
it.
worth more, yes.
If you got a few pine trees.
It
planted.
does pass, yes.
But you do have those exemptions.
Yes, it does, yes. But if you get the exemption for the home, so it's a trade-off. You know, we can do away with the local homestead
It's not a
exemption.
trade-off, I can assure you.
Well, it is for the comparison between home and business. It is a trade-off.
I think we can all agree that the property tax system is not a fair or just system, but until they come up with a different one, that's the way our schools are.
That's it. That's the only way schools have to raise money. I mean, that's just the way, it's the
And also,
only, it's
too,
the only way we have.
in Shelby County and live out of the Timpson School District has no space other than respond to that, period. Their taxes will go up at this time.
That's the way it is in any school district.
That's the way it is. That's totally unfair too.
Well, that's a question for the Texas legislature.
That's right.
That's different.
That's who you need to be talking to.
I have some, just a few quick questions. You have the VOTEC under middle school and high school, but that's just one, I mean, you're just talking about one VOTEC center.
Yes,
But it's
yes.
all.
We'll have middle school students that take
Yes, sir.
those
Yeah, I know.
classes.
Softball field, you got that picture, that's over in the.
Other side of the
parking.
road, relocated.
The field house will be in the event center?
It will be yes, the field house will be in the event center. We're doubling up on space there because it will be a boys' side and a girls' side.
Okay.
Let me go back.
But it's okay, you are adding a boys' side and a girls' side. I'm assuming
This is where the field house will be basically, in that side of it. And then this side is the girls over here.
Okay. When you're adding the facilities on the, I mean, are they gonna be equipped? I mean, because obviously you only have one weight room now, you only have
We'll
one.
ask about it.
Okay, so is
We've got money as far as we can put contingencies in the whole project. We've got some fund balance we're gonna contribute to
So
that.
that's our local fund, so you want, so you'll have.
Yes, we'll do what we can to outfit it, absolutely. We can't be ignorant, we have to.
No, I'm
You know,
just
we
asking.
have to be able to plan ahead, and so that's what we plan by, having money set aside for different,
I'm trying to be swayed in favor,
Sure.
don't take my questions
Sure.
as negative.
I did.
Not being sarcastic about clocks
I
or
did.
drainage or anything, promise, just got
Sure.
questions.
Sure.
Bill, how much money does TSD have in the bank now?
About 5 million.
5 million. Is any of that being used on this project?
It will.
It will. Any of this project or separate project from that line?
This pretty much is
I
paid
heard
for
rumors
by
they
the
want,
bond.
I've heard rumors they want to ask for a football field, is that correct?
Not with bond money.
I thought about 5 million in the bank now.
We have not made that determination.
That y'all have not discussed.
No, we have not discussed that. No, and we're not going to do something that's going to jeopardize, do that to create a negative.
Approximately how much is planned on, in this project from that 5 million?
Million maybe.
A million?
4 million still leaves a healthy fund balance.
Sure will.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a transfer fee proposed for, like I know in Central Heights, before they did all of their updates and expansion, they had maybe $500-600 transfer fee per student per year that was coming out of the other districts into Central Heights. They did all these massive improvements and increased that. They also had an influx of kids coming into that.
If
So
we-
is there a proposal for a transfer fee?
If we get to the point where we've got an influx of kids, yes, we will look at that. But right now, we don't have that problem.
So that's not an issue that comes around like the bond would, that's something
It might come after the bond, but it's not current.
How many
We
transfer students?
have more kids that probably transfer out than transfer in.
How many do we approximately have in transfer students now?
Usually it's 20 to 30, maybe 20. Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood, which is a good, healthy number that we have come in, you know. I mean, we're talking about over the whole district.
You said you proposed a 1,200 square foot add-on to the band.
Yes.
And you showed kids out in foyers that are bigger than 1,200 foot, said some of them are in dressing rooms. Is that going to be enough to accommodate band and sectionals and?
We think so.
We do think so. We're
Because
gonna.
I've been in there, it's awful crowded.
Yeah, it's-
Well,
Like I said, that was designed for fewer kids, of band participation has become a lot higher in your district than when that was designed 30 years ago. One of the things that we're looking at is making the space more efficient, particularly how we're going to store the instruments. We think we can recapture some more space in that large band hall by just making that instrument storage substantially more efficient. The goal is we want to make it as big as possible, to accommodate those kids.
Well, I mean, obviously, if you don't do it every 15, 20 years, I mean, I'd just like to know that, I mean, what we're proposing is gonna, I know every time we add on and add a new machine, we think 2 weeks later that, goodness, we didn't do that big enough. So,
Well, the original idea was to build a new band hall. That was in the original project, when it was $14 million, which is way more than we could.
I was shocked that
Generate.
wasn't one of the things. that we
Yeah,
did.
I mean, but when we did the surveys, that was not, but we could take the band hall we have and make it much larger and then add that additional space. But we are confined by the space available in that location. As far as, if we tried to make it twice as big, we really couldn't because there's not enough space there to do that. But the 1,200 will allow an ensemble room, and it will allow the offices that we need, plus it allows to enlarge the main area of the band hall.
You mentioned that you'd added a band director. Does Timpson currently offer like stage band, regular marching band, choir, music?
Some of that, but not all of that.
Do we have any plans to offer there?
We've offered music classes, yes, in the past. We do, elementary, they have, music classes. And then we have the band, of course, classes that the elementary kids go to. But we don't have a stage band at this time.
If that was something that comes up, would we have room for stuff like that?
We would be better prepared for it, absolutely.
On the VOTEC classes, and I think we, as employers here in the area, I would definitely say, I think we're 100% behind seeing that be everything it can be. You said having larger classes, with those be, you said something about not having the budget to have a lot of teachers. How would you staff the classes for these CTE programs and things?
Well, we have teachers currently that can teach those courses, and then we make arrangements daily, Fanola to use, if we have to, their staff. We've got people here that can teach a lot of
Distance
those kinds of
learning,
things. And some of it's distance learning, it's online courses, yes.
You have to have the right to cost, you don't know the cost estimate on each facility.
Yes.
And so that's how you have to write it tonight, I make plus what the state.
Well, we had a wish list that's probably $14 million, and then we cut it back to 9.5, because that's what the state basically mattered. And put what we could in that 9.5.
On the new bus barn, they don't have a lot of land that cost us a little bit.
Yes, it was about $1 million, that's I remember.
How much is that?
No, it wasn't, no. We cut that down because it wasn't that much. It was about the building. But then we had the outside and all of that.
Where the facilities that are planning on being on, they'll have dirt work and pop.
There's going to be, yes, there
There'll be a lot of dirt work, because it's a barn down there, right?
Yes, it's true.
From a safety perspective
What
on
about
that,
Yeah, but it's on down, I understand you said.
It's a little further down, yeah, we'll have to put better fences up and protection, security cameras.
That's what I was
Yes.
saying.
How many employees we have plus 100?
Well, we have 2 that work at the bus barn.
What kind of maintenance do they do? That president maintenance do they do?
They do.
Like a week, or how it is.
We, of course, if it has to do with a major project or
Right.
something, the engine goes down, we have to farm that out. We do have people
What kind of
that do.
maintenance do they do right
Because
now?
there's a lot of routine type, put mirrors on, get windows in, put, shocks, radiators, those kinds of things, batteries, a lot of maintenance, because those things go over the roughest roads in the county. And so there's a lot of basic, very rough roads. There's a lot of maintenance that has to be done. So we have one that pretty much does that, then we have a person that's kind of serves more or less as a secretary over the
How many square
maintenance.
feet? How many square feet on this one?
It's, what did we say? I can't remember exactly how many square feet. But it's big enough for 2
Well, you
complete
get
stalls to
big
have
buses.
2 big buses plus offices. Plus it'll have a place for the maintenance office, the maintenance office.
3,500, I think was the last number you said now.
How many places on the city street do you have buses turning? Like, I know that you're talking about turning them in there.
Yes.
And then turning them in here.
Yes, the reason for this right here, this has to be concrete because turning in. Now, the problem we're going to have is the road.
That's what I'm asking. It
Yeah.
may not-
I mean,
it may not
we'll eventually
matter
have
to me, I
problems
guess,
with
in
the
a
road.
month, but it might.
Yeah.
So you're
But
talking.
it's as good as the road out here anyway. The one down here is as good as the one that goes out, so.
Have you and the board talked anything about closing off McLaughlin?
We have not discussed it in depth, but, we know that might be a possibility in the future.
I know at one time you and I discussed it.
Yeah, we talked about it, yes, several years ago.
Man, I think I asked you once, I'm gonna ask you once again, original planning on this project, how many taxpayers have you been involved in the original planning, it's not fit with school?
Well, we
Teachers,
involved
taxpayers.
the Texas Association of School Boards and that school facilities group came in and did the study.
But you also set out a little brochure, did you not?
Yes. Yes.
How many taxpayers were involved, you said the brochure too?
Not a brochure, it was a survey. We did staff surveys, and all those surveys we did for the staff was to rank them and to order. It was not to decide.
Well, I'm asking,
The needs
the area I lived in, no one was aware of it, so basically,
We assessed it up here as a group, and the educators up here ranked it and ordered it based upon their being here every day and knowing the needs of the district. That's what we used to prioritize it. The big list we had was all the needs that were identified through the assessment, plus all the things that people have complained to me about over the last 7 years that this district doesn't have. We put them all on a big list, and then we whittled it down from there based on those surveys. Okay.
I think, I had the same question one time. It was, at one time when they did bonds, and when I was teaching, they had steering committees with so many people from.
We didn't have a steering committee.
Okay, so we didn't have.
We used a group from the campuses, and then we talked to people in the public.
That's what
all
I'm
around
getting
different places.
use a group of the council, you know, many
We
taxpayers.
were pretty sure that we could get it done that way, but if we involved, we were afraid that, essentially, if it could turn into a project that was not doable in a hurry in Tennessee.
And I understand several people have made the comment, and I'm definitely not negating that the staff up here, most of them own homes in Tennessee and pay, or in the school.
And we did pull the surveys separately for homeowners here. They did a separate one, and theirs was actually weighted differently in the process than
And y'all use an outside fireman opinion, kind of like the Timpson did.
Texas Association of School Boards that do it everywhere, and told us about the condition of the facilities. Yes.
Number one thing on the in-school system was safety.
Yes. That's what we told them to emphasize. I said, where are safety issues and where are the issues that we even had a safety issue identified down at the gymnasium during the ball game because of, the crowding down there could become a fire issue. The fire marshal could have something to say about people being,
Jerry, you were the mayor, my question is, of course, on the elementary playground, did anybody ever present to the city council to make it closer than street?
That's what I asked him.
that's what she just asked. But it still would place a playground right behind the elementary school.
And Mr. Johnson, we talked about it, but it was never brought before the board because at that time, this was, I think, in the very beginning phases. And even if it was moved, I think it would be safer for that school to be closed. I mean, that road to be closed because it just makes the.
And that's the city
I mean, it
board
was
wants to
county
make that
to me.
request, and the city wants to accept it.
It's just aggravating.
And that's the decision that-
If the city talks
that
about
the city
closing that road, we'd have to.
And Tim Stein can make
Because
it
they have to
jump.
make an extra block by it.
But, I mean,
We know that.
that's one way to solve the same problem for the council.
I think I got it. Oh, you said something about 40 to 60 people in PE and having extra PE space. And something about kids going to churches and practicing.
Yeah, Mr. Carrington, you talking about our PE situation with the PE.
Are you talking about what we're having to do every
Yeah, what we
year
have
and
to
try
do.
to figure out what to do? Yeah, because that's our problem, is that we have, because of the way that we have to share coaches. We have to share faculty members with the whole district. And so that's one of our biggest issues every year is trying to be able to fix a schedule to where all of our kids can be served. When we started out this year, our pre-K kids were going to have to do PE out on where we have recess. And on inclement weather days, they were not going to get to be able to even do that. We were going to have to, keep them inside. And things kind of worked out, and luckily to be able to provide some areas for us. But it's every year it's a struggle.
So it's juggling from the current playground and the gym that got refloored, is that correct?
Well, we have high school, we have middle school, and we have elementary.
We had to
All
watch
have
that.
a different cycle.
The floor costs $100,000.
Yes.
And so we have to watch how that one's used, but we still use it for PE.
Sometimes we have two grade levels going to PE at the same time, so that's double the number.
Second and third grade go to PE at the same time, so both of those facilities are being
And you have middle
used.
school,
And then you had no school PE and
when you have 3 campuses using 2 gyms, it's tough.
I understand. It's been a while since I've been able to teach, but I know how many kids have been in the gym at one time. And I understand safety. It's a buzzword.
I don't feel like the staff is asking for anything to be.
Can you tell us the event center that you showed the pictures of as far as, you were showing pictures of our basketball games being crowded. So would sporting events all be in the event center after, if this passes?
Yes, now we may have tournaments and stuff, if we have a tournament, then we
Yes,
might
where
have
you got-
tournament games
Yeah,
down.
where you got them all over.
Yes,
So-
but the junior high, yes, yeah, school events.
Okay, so in the course of a normal 185-day or whatever y'all school year is now, that building would be used every day?
Yes,
So field house, weight training?
absolutely,
Okay, so,
every day.
and as far as summers,
We
probably
use
not.
almost every day during the summer, kids would be up, and they come up and lift and run.
So the way, so you're talking about the field house section of it? We talked briefly about the clubs, organizations that aren't Timpson ISD, the little dribblers and stuff, where they currently go and use gym facilities at churches. Would they be able to, would those organizations be able to use
In the same-
either one of the gyms or that?
We have never, as far as, I can't think of somebody, now we've redirected at times.
Yes.
We've said, hey, we just put $100,000 floor in, can y'all go practice in the old gym this year? Or can you find somewhere else to
I
practice
think
while
y'all would
the gym
I
cures?
think y'all
Something.
would reflooring this
You
year.
know,
is what the
and
law
if
is.
it doesn't violate the, if it doesn't, jeopardize the condition of the facility, or if it doesn't do something that compromises the district legally, or if it doesn't do something that is against the values that we want to instill in our kids, then we're gonna, we're gonna be willing to treat it like other facilities. But of course, we don't want it torn up, we want it take care of it. Yes, ma'am.
Back to the conversation about the PE and the athletics issue with the facilities we have now. My daughter, who is in middle school and played volleyball, was shipped off campus to a church facility to be able to practice probably 3 out of the 5 days during school. And what you were talking about, other people using the facilities, my husband has coached softball league and center for 4 years straight, and we have always had access to the old gym to practice when we couldn't practice on the softball field due to weather, rain, or whatever. But we've always had it. We would just have to go ask and get permission, but it's always been open to us.
I think the deal with the little dribblers was because something was getting resurfaced this year.
That was it, and they were redirected because we just put a new door, a new floor.
Was there a problem time with the flag football not being able to use the football field?
No, I think that was organization more than anything, communication.
If they make a request, as long as things aren't torn up, it's like anything else, there's a list of things that, organizations that can use the facilities and for free, and then other people have to pay a fee. But most of our youth organizations, if it supports something that we have up here, for our youth, then we're gonna, want them to be able to use it under the conditions that we have for protecting the facility.
Well, I'm definitely for improving our school, and I just want everybody to know that, there's no reason. I want our facility to be able to be well used. I want it to be able to be used by everyone that needs it, in the community, that plan on taking care of it. And the deal is, I have questions. I don't know exactly why they're doing this or that, or not utilizing this, but I do know we hired you and we voted on a school board to make the right decisions for us. So I don't see how we can really be against anything. We're going to have to, the public can't come in and just determine how to build a school. That's what we got the school board and you to do. So at this time, I really think it's a great deal.
Thank you for answering questions. And I'm sorry that, the people may not be in here that thought Paul and I were against the bond, but we had some questions, and we are taxpayers, and we don't get a homestead exemption on our business.
And I would not mind paying taxes, higher taxes on my house at all. It's my business, it's going to hurt.
Well, there's a lot of people in here that have land and timber land too. I do too. And it's taxed.
Well, I think, and then I'll say this, and I'm sure it wasn't in any way intended to be misleading, but when you talk about a $67,000 home and how it changes it, it kind of puts it in a narrow perspective.
That ain't the one that's paying the tax. You can't pay a $9.5 million